A pleasant good Tuesday afternoon to you, wherever you may be. Welcome to a Tuesday edition of SportsCenter and Lorosportspod SportsCenter. I'm Loro with Matt Bridgewater here, so we got a lot to talk about when it comes to sports. And Matt, welcome back from your vacation. How did you enjoy Northern California, Eureka, and Oregon?
Oh, very good. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Got to enjoy some time at the beach and in some national parks, and yeah, very relaxing. My friend has a house up there, so we stayed mostly at his house. So yeah, it was all very nice. Good, glad to be back though.
It is good to have you back on. So let's start off with first things first, the NBA. We have a lot of crazy NBA playoff games, but the one that we want to talk about first is Game 7 of the Hawks-Sixers game of the Eastern Conference semifinals. I was calling that game on the Colorcast app. I was like, the only way the Sixers could lose this game is if they turn the ball over and if they don't play good defense. And Game 5 showed that the Sixers kind of lost their mojo. So what was your thoughts on that series overall?
Yeah, it was a close series. Frankly, at the end, Ben Simmons wilted, and he had 0 shots in the fourth quarter, I believe. You can't do that. It might be that people have to realize Ben Simmons is not a shooter. He's not your go-to guy, and they need to create a role for him. I mean, he's a good player in a lot of other ways, but if he's not the guy that should be shooting the ball in the fourth quarter, teams have to be aware of that. And, they need to either – I think they need to probably trade him to a team that he could flourish with. Maybe the Lakers. Maybe he'd fit in really well with LeBron and AD. So what do you think?
He could fit well. That will be a question to be talked about later. But I think that with the Sixers, I think Embiid, I trust to shoot the ball in the fourth quarter. The Sixers have Seth Curry, Danny Green, but I just felt like that this team kind of lost it in the fourth quarter. And then Game 5, if you look at it, they had an erratic second-half performance and blew a 20-plus point lead to the Atlanta Hawks.
Yeah. And the Hawks, though, let's give them credit. Trae Young and the Atlanta Hawks have just been really good. And Trae Young, what a great star he's turning out to be.
Well, yeah, this upcoming Eastern Conference Finals, we'll talk about in a minute. The Bucks and the Hawks will be going toe-to-toe. So the Bucks and the Nets, I actually played a Game 7 on Saturday, and it kind of told me this. If the Nets win, then they wouldn't be a bust. But this season for the Nets has been kind of a failure just because of injuries to Harden and to Kyrie. They were not 100%. The Bucks, however, came in as an underdog. Nobody thought that they would beat the Nets in 7 games. That there was a lot of pressure on Mike Budenholzer. And if the Bucks could not get past the Nets, then he would have been fired. But the Bucks prevailed.
Yeah, I think they, the Bucks, or let me start with the Nets. And, I'll say this about the Bucks first. They went from being kind of a finesse team the last couple of years, and they got exposed in the playoffs when you get tougher basketball being played. This year, they played a lot tougher, a lot meaner, I think, in the playoffs. And I think that's really helped them. So I think that's been a really good adaptation for them. With the Nets, it's I'm trying to think if super teams in their first year usually don't win at all. Look at LeBron's Heat in the first year. They went to the NBA Finals and lost to the Mavericks. Sometimes it takes a year for 3 big players to gel with each other. In this situation, Kyrie was hurt. Harden was at 75%. Durant was amazing. And they only had 6 guys really that they were playing. They did not bring in a lot of bench guys. So they need some bench guys in the offseason. They need at least a couple more, I think, that can come in and take some minutes and take some pressure off the big 3 when they're out there. So I feel too with the injuries, with the shortened season, the fact that it was their first year as a super team, I wouldn't quite say it's a bust. They don't need to implode the team or anything. I just think they need a couple more bench pieces, and I think next year they'll be real contenders.
Yeah, I agree. I think that the Nets are just They just needed time. There was a shortened season. And then they couldn't even play defense. I mean, their defense was kind of erratic at times because of what Steve Nash and Mike D'Antoni's focus is on the offensive side of the ball and outscoring teams. But in this day and age in the NBA, you got to play defense to win a championship.
You do. Yep. You need to play tough.
So the Nets they didn't show a lot of toughness in that series. So the Bucks and the Hawks will be tipping off on Wednesday night for the Eastern Conference Finals. I'm going to say that I think the Bucks will win it in 6. What about you?
Ooh, yeah. I'm going to, this is a tough one. I'm going to say Hawks in 7.
That is going to be good, but you think you would want the Hawks in the NBA Finals? That would be kind of a Cinderella story in the NBA this year.
Yeah. Did you hear about the guy that put back on like May 1st or May 2nd, he put $20,000 on the Atlanta Hawks to win the NBA championship? This is back before there was still like 2 weeks in the regular season. And if he wins, the payout will be $1 million for him. So I'm kind of rooting for this guy too, to get his payout. That was a bold bet. So yeah, I think Hawks in 7.
Yes, and then let's talk about the Clippers and Suns. Game 1, recap Game 1 because Game 2 is tonight. So the Suns won Game 1 without Chris Paul, and then the Clippers are shorthanded without Kawhi Leonard because of a knee sprain. So who do you think has the edge in this series? I want to say Suns in 7.
Yeah, I think today is a critical game. I thought the Clippers had a chance in Game 1. In fact, at halftime, I was thinking they're probably going to pull this off. And the Suns, though, are playing such complete basketball right now. It's kind of tough to go against them. So I think, they have Chris Paul out, the Suns do. The Clippers have Kawhi Leonard out. So it really comes down to guys like Paul George and Devin Booker and DeAndre Ayton and, Zubats and Beverly, and all those guys, to see who's going to step up and win. Like in Game 6 against the Jazz, it was Terrence Mann that exploded. So the Clippers have a shot here. I think if they go down 0-2, though, it's going to be a really tough hole for them to climb out of. I'm going to go with an upset today. I'm going to go with the Clippers upsetting the Suns in this game.
I would say today I think the Suns will still go up 2-0, but if the Clippers win, it'd probably be because they're going to need this one to get back into the series heading into Game 3, which will be back at Staples Center.
Yep.
So I think that that both teams, this should be a great game, but I think the Clippers might win this game. But also, you think that the Sixers could trade Ben Simmons? I would say maybe, but he might need to change positions again because he's a good point guard that could pass, but he's more of a small forward, power forward kind of guy.
Yeah, I think it'll depend on what teams are wanting to give up for Ben Simmons. I mean, he didn't look good in his last series, so we'll see if that drops his trade value, and then maybe Philly would say it's better off if we keep him and try to just play him differently, right? So
who do you think is to blame for that series? I forgot to ask you that. Was that Doc Rivers? Was that all on him?
Yeah, I have to say it's not all on him, but Doc Rivers, with the exception of that one year where he won in Boston, like his teams have usually flamed out early in the playoffs, and this is another situation of that. So I don't think Doc is the greatest X's and O's guy. Then again, he did a pretty good job this. I mean, they were the number 1 seed in the East. So, but Doc, I think people knew Ben Simmons wasn't that great of a shooter, so like you have to take that into account, and you have to try to create situations for him and for other guys in your team to do that. And I look at like a guy like Ty Lue, who does that really well. He did that in Cleveland. He did that this playoff season with the Clippers. The thing that's holding the Clippers back is the health of Kawhi Leonard, really, at this point. I mean, if he was healthy, I'd say they would probably be the favorites to win it all right now. But yeah, so I think there's definitely a lot of blame on Doc Rivers here.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, he's not really the best coach in the playoffs. He's not, like you said, he's not really an X's and O's kind of guy. So tonight is the NBA draft lottery. So the Pistons and I would say the Rockets, it's going to be between those two teams that I think will be in the drawing for the number one pick in the 2021 NBA draft. I'm going to say I picked the Houston Rockets to get the number one pick in the 2021 NBA draft if they win the lottery. What about you?
I hope it's the Detroit Pistons, and I hope they get some really good players. We'll see how this rebuild goes this year.
Well, I mean, I think is with you guys trading Blake Griffin and then no more Drummond, you guys have a young team that I think needs a lot of work.
Yeah, I mean, they have they hit on Sadiq Bey in the draft last year. Their 19th pick, so if I forget the name of the guy that they drafted first overall, or
are you talking about Killian Hayes?
Killian Hayes, yeah. France? Yeah, he has some health issues, I think. So, but yeah, I think that Sadiq Bey made the all-rookie team, so that's pretty good.
Yeah, that was pretty good. Maybe the Pistons or the Rockets or maybe the Timberwolves will get that number one pick again.
Yeah.
So, anyways, let's go to the coaching carousel and start with thoughts on Rick Carlisle stepping down as the Mavs head coach. I felt like that the reason why I thought he stepped down was because I didn't think he got along with Luka Doncic. What about you?
Yeah, that's a good point. I don't know much about it. I was a little bit surprised. I know that Rick Carlisle, I remember him as the Pistons head coach. And of course, he's been with the Mavericks for about 13 years now, or was the Mavericks. I know his reputation is someone who's very hands-on. He is often calling plays. He's kind of a general on the sidelines, very kind of, here's how we're doing things, type A. And I think some players over the years have said they don't like how he doesn't give them enough freedom to what they think is to do something differently if they see something happen, So, but, Carlisle got along very well with Dirk, I think. And you have Luka Doncic, who's he's probably more exciting than Dirk Nowitzki, but he's just as talented, and we'll see what happens. Yeah, you imagine a head coaching move, and then their GM also got fired. Or
yeah, Donnie Nelson just stepped down.
Yeah, and that could be, that they want to bring in some fresh blood for these new guys, and we'll see.
Well, there's going to be a lot of drama because in the Dallas right now because the thing is, they could trade Kristaps Porzingis.
Yeah. I could see that happening for sure. So, I think it's just with Luka's talent and skill set, they might want to go in a different direction than Carlisle. But Carlisle, they were the Mavericks were the 5th seed this year. Luka's second season, and they did really well. So they nearly beat the Clippers, and I didn't think, it doesn't seem like a situation where you need to get rid of the head coach and the general manager and stuff like that. But they might feel that this is the time to do it while Luka's young, while the new whoever they bring in can kind of rebuild the roster around him a bit better. So
yeah, we'll have to wait and see on that. But also, let's talk about my thought. What is your reaction to Stan Van Gundy being one and done with the Pelicans? You kind of told me this on Messenger that that's not a surprise about Stan Van Gundy being one and done. I didn't think he was a fit for that young roster for the Pelicans.
I agree. I remember when he was hired, I thought that was a mistake, bring him in. I remember us talking about that a year ago. I mean, yeah, Zion is unhappy there, and they need to make him happy. And so we'll see who they bring in. But I heard even his family, they don't want him in New Orleans right now. And, here's the same thing. Like, this is what happened with AD when he was down there. He stopped liking New Orleans. I think it's the ownership. It's not really an NBA town. It doesn't have that vibe or feel. I think that kind of like what AD, he wanted out to the Lakers. I think Zion is going to want to go to a different type of market. And this is probably the Pelicans' last gasp to try to keep him and keep the roster together. So we'll see what happens with all that.
Yeah, I mean, Stan Van Gundy. I mean, I think the Pelicans need to hire a coach, young head coach, that could relate to Zion Williamson, Brandon Ingram, Lonzo Ball, and Steven Adams. But with what I thought about Van Gundy is Stan Van Gundy's good with veteran and experienced teams, like working with Dwight Howard, working with Shaq and D-Wade in Miami. And then when he was with Detroit, he wanted a lot of control of the roster and in the front office. So yeah. Stan Van Gundy's kind of a demanding coach.
He is. He wants a lot of power. And, those type of coaches in the NBA, like, I don't know. Like, I don't know if they work as well. And Stan Van Gundy, like, he's never won a title. Like, I could see if it's some guy who's won, like, a couple of titles, and it's like, well, I know how to take a team, to the promised land, so people can buy into that. But I think you need to carry more weight than just Stan Van Gundy. So,
yes, and then also let's go to Portland right now. So, what was your thoughts on Terry Stotts being parted ways with the Blazers after 8 years? I knew that he could not even take the Blazers past the first round of the playoffs. And actually, to be honest, is that the Blazers lost to a team that they should have beat in the first round, and the Nuggets were shorthanded without Jamal Murray. They all had Jokic, who was the league MVP, and it was inexcusable for the Blazers to lose to a Nuggets team without Jamal Murray and just let Jokic do all the work.
Right. Yeah, I agree. And, Terry Stotts, that was it. I mean, yeah, I agree with that. You can't just, you need to bring in someone else. You need to bring in someone who can get another free agent or maybe deal CJ McCollum and bring in someone else to help out with Dame. You need a different vision right now. And you also want to make sure Dame Lillard is happy there, and doesn't want to leave. So I think it's time that they need to get past the first round of the playoffs, So I agree with that.
Yes, and then also, do you think that if you had to choose a next head coach for the Portland Trailblazers, do you think that Mike D'Antoni would be a fit there? Because I think that he would definitely help Lillard and McCollum play iso ball, and then I think that one of his assistants could be someone that could help with the defensive end.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I mean, D'Antoni, in my opinion, has never been a great playoff coach. And I think part of it is he's really good. Like when he was in Houston, he's really good at just getting guys great stats like James Harden, and he has that like high-paced type of basketball that just can blow people away in the regular season. You can really beat up on a lot of teams. I don't think that he has the right strategy for playoff basketball, though. So I thought it'd be interesting if they would go with Jason Kidd, but Jason Kidd took his name out of the running, saying he didn't want to jump the line or something like that, which that's a bizarre excuse. I mean, Steve Nash jumped the line and became the Brooklyn Nets head coach. Like, go ahead and do it, and Dame Lillard apparently likes Jason Kidd and would like to have him. So that's kind of weird that Jason Kidd just pulled his name out like that. Chauncey Billups might be interesting, but he has no head coaching experience, so I don't know about that. But Billups is a guy that's won a title as a player. He's a smart guy. Really good point guard in the day. Has kind of like a Steve Nash vibe to him. Like if they would go in that direction. I know Steve Nash, they lost in the second round here, but I think that you might want to take a chance on a guy like Billups, maybe.
You could. I mean, Chauncey would be a great head coach. He would really work well with Dame and CJ. And then I think what Steve Nash has done with Brooklyn, he's really worked well with Kevin Durant, James Harden, Kyrie Irving. He's kind of helped Kyrie become an elite point guard because I felt in the past, Kyrie has not been that good. He's an all-star, but I just think that what Steve Nash helps with Kyrie Irving's development is how to be a good all-around point guard. And I think Steve Nash has made Kyrie even better.
Yeah.
And then also another head coaching opening is the Celtics. We'll get to in just a minute. Brad Stevens has been promoted from head coach to president of basketball ops, and that's a big shift in the Celtics front office with Danny Ainge stepping down.
Yep.
So what was your thoughts on that?
I was a bit surprised, because I like Brad Stevens. He's really good. But he hasn't won anything, and he hasn't been to NBA finals, and it's like he's getting a promotion to the front office. I think it was probably the situation where Ainge wanted out, and they knew Ainge was probably tired and was like, I can't, the roster. He had said this year multiple times, the roster needs changes. And he probably realized in Brad Stevens, this is the guy to get these changes done. And Brad Stevens can hire a head coach to, get this team on board, with the changes. So I think it's kind of like we trust this guy a lot, and he's really good. And we need to make some roster changes, and they think Brad Stevens can do that for the organization. So,
yeah, and then another name to talk about is that what's your thoughts on Scott Brooks being fired as Washington Wizards head coach after 5 seasons coaching the Wizards?
Yeah, I mean, Brooks is a pretty good coach. The Wizards are a poorly run organization. They have been for quite some time. That doesn't surprise me. Westbrook seems to like him, but you need more than Westbrook on that team. So yeah, I think that they need to go in a different direction.
Yes, and then also, what's your thoughts on Al Horford going back to Boston and then Kemba Walker being traded from Boston to the Oklahoma City Thunder? Do you think that that's going to help OKC out in a way like they could be back to being a playoff team with Kemba Walker?
Yeah, I think it helps both teams. I mean, for Boston, I know at least they want to make roster changes, and Kemba Walker has been underperforming. So for Boston, it's going to work. It is going to work. Yeah.
Here's the thing is, with Kemba Walker being traded, I could see Marcus Smart now starting at point guard because Marcus Smart is a much better point guard than Kemba Walker is.
Yeah, I agree.
And then you got Jaylen Brown, who I think is by arguably one of the best players on the Celtics. I mean, the Celtics have talent, but I just think that there needs to be a change for them to go far in the playoffs. They have the talent to do that, but I just felt like that this past year they slipped a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They did not play good. They did not play the basketball that people were accustomed to seeing.
Yeah.
Because they were a team that almost played the Lakers in the NBA Finals in 2020.
Uh-huh.
But they were this close. But I just felt like that they need to build their team around Jason Tatum better.
Yeah.
So, anyways, let's talk about who should be the next head coach of the Wizards, Mavericks, Pelicans, and Celtics. I'll start with the Celtics first. So, I'm going to say Brad Stevens should pick a coach that I think he can relate to.
Yeah. And I think, too, they might look at one of those female coaches, right? I forget her name, from San Antonio.
Becky Hammond?
Yeah.
Yeah, because Pop has been grooming her in. And what if the Celtics get Rick Carlisle as their next head coach? I think that would definitely work because I don't see Rick Carlisle taking a hiatus after stepping down.
Yeah, Rick Carlisle, I think, will end up somewhere. It's a question of whether he buys into the Brad Stevens philosophy, right? I mean, it's just Brad Stevens is going to want to replace himself as head coach with another Brad Stevens, right? So we'll see if Carlisle fits that bill or not. I think they'll probably go in a different direction, but Carlisle might. Trying to think, like,
could he be good for Portland? He could be good with Dame.
Maybe. It's weird. Like, yeah, it's tough. Like, I don't know where he fits. I don't think it's with New Orleans.
Could he go back to the Pacers? Because the Pacers have an opening now. Since Nate Jordan got fired after 1 year, and the Pacers want to go in a new direction.
To be honest, that might be the best fit for him if he wants to go back to Indiana.
Yeah.
They don't have, like, his coaching philosophy, I think, would fit fairly well with Indiana. I mean, they don't have like some big stars or a bunch of young players. They kind of have a team that just underperformed, and maybe him coming in will rebuild the team. I could see him being like a rebuilder of sorts. I think that would fit in with Indiana more so than Portland or New Orleans or Boston. Maybe Washington, especially if they get rid of Westbrook. Like, I don't see Carlisle and Westbrook gelling, but I think Washington might get rid of him. So,
I mean, you could see maybe Russell Westbrook going to the Lakers or something like that. That would help the Lakers out in some way in getting a point guard to play with LeBron James and Anthony Davis.
I've heard the Heat might be interested in Westbrook as well.
I think the Heat definitely want to build their team around Jimmy Butler. So I think Rick Carlisle returning to the Pacers, I think would be a good move for him, and also would be the best situation for him. I don't know who's going to be the Wizards coach, but I think the Mavs and Pelicans should definitely look into a coach that could really help make Zion happy and then help build around Luka better when it comes to their next head coaches.
Yeah.
Like maybe Chauncey Billups would be good for the Mavs.
Uh-huh.
And then for the Pelicans, maybe Chauncey could come in and help Lonzo Ball become a professional.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of thinking that, but maybe Jason Kidd would want to go to Dallas. Wouldn't you want to see that?
That'd be a cool hire. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I want to see Jason Kidd as a head coach anywhere. So I hope
he's right now an assistant for the Lakers, but if he's a head coach for the Lakers, I would be happy to see him get a third chance at it, because I felt like that he wasn't really given an opportunity when he got his first coaching stint with Brooklyn and Milwaukee. I feel like that he has what it takes to build a contending team as a head coach.
Yeah.
So that's what I wanted to say here, but moving on to the basketball court, to the football field. So while you were on vacation, the Tennessee Titans did something that we're like, oh, are they going to be Super Bowl contenders with this trade? And they got Julio Jones from the Atlanta Falcons. And what was your thoughts on the trade?
Well, that's a good trade for Tennessee. And who's their head coach, the Titans, again?
It's Mike Vrabel.
Yeah, Mike Vrabel, yeah. His assistant, who became Arthur Smith became head coach of Atlanta. I imagine like they kind of worked it out and said, this will help both of our teams. They both understood it.
Well, here's the thing. Now that Julio Jones is with Tennessee, I think Calvin Ridley's the guy I think is going to be the number one target for Matt Ryan. And I think Kyle Pitts, who they drafted with the 4th overall pick, I still think Atlanta's offense is still going to be good even without Julio Jones.
Yeah, I think so too. I think they got that tight end, Pitts, in the draft. That's a huge piece. And, I'll say this. A lot of teams, like when they lose a star receiver, they don't get worse. A star receiver can help a team. It can shake up an offensive game plan for that team so they can have a little bit of an edge. But sometimes these trades are overvalued. Like when Odell Beckham Jr. went to Cleveland was I thought they were better when Odell wasn't playing than when he was. This is true for a lot of receivers, for various reasons. So, I don't think it hurts Atlanta very much.
No, I don't think
fine.
I don't think it hurts Atlanta that much, just because I think I think Arthur Smith is going to help Matt Ryan rejuvenate his career in some way, because I think Arthur Smith has the same offensive system that Kyle ran when Kyle was with Atlanta as offensive coordinator. I think Arthur Smith is going to bring that offensive philosophy back to Atlanta.
Yeah.
So, anyways, who do you think won the trade? Do you think Tennessee won the trade because you think Julio could really be a big help with A.J. Brown and Derrick Henry and Ryan Tannehill, or do you think Atlanta might have won it?
Say it again.
Who do you think won the trade? Was it Tennessee or was it Atlanta?
Well, I think both. I think they both come out in a good spot. This helps out Atlanta with helping them redo their offense around Matt Ryan. I think it saves them cash, and Tennessee gets a weapon for Tannehill. Like he needs a weapon. So I think it solved a couple of issues for both teams.
It did. Like, if you look at it, like, Tannehill has A.J. Brown, and getting Julio Jones kind of takes over the void that was left by Corey Davis, who's now with the Jets, and also Jonnu Smith, who's on my Patriots, of course. So, anyways, do you think that with Julio Jones on the Titans, does this make them a contender in the AFC South and also contend for the Super Bowl?
Yeah, I think it's likely going to be the Titans and the Colts for the AFC South. And yeah, I think it helps them. It helps them for sure. I think their expectations are a lot higher now. Yes,
they are a lot higher. And I mean, if you look at this AFC South, I think it's gotten better. I mean, I'm speaking of the Colts, I'm looking forward to watching the Colts this year. I think Carson Wentz is going to be so much better. I think he's my early favorite to be the comeback player of the year, be that next Ryan Tannehill coming into the AFC South. It was kind of like when the Dolphins cut him loose, and then Tannehill started off as a backup, and then he became the starter for Mariota. I think Carson Wentz is coming into the right situation with Frank Reich.
Yeah, I agree.
And I really like Chris Ballard. I think Chris Ballard knows how to draft talent, and I think he knows how to build a roster and build a winning team on the football field for the Colts.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the Colts and the Titans are definitely going to go toe-to-toe, and I think the Jags are going to be a team that you might want to not sleep on, because Urban Meyer is definitely going to make them a sleeper team with Trevor Lawrence under center. And then the Texans, I am not sure what they're going to do with Deshaun Watson, which we'll talk about in just a minute. So who do you think is most likely going to hold out at training camp? Aaron Rodgers or Deshaun Watson?
Yeah, interesting. Well, I haven't been following it that closely since I've been out of town, but I would say that, like, Deshaun Watson, he still has a lot of those legal problems. Like, so I think that's the bigger issue with him. So I don't know where you draw the line between him sitting out of training camp and him not wanting to or not being able to show up because of legal problems. Rodgers, so I would say Aaron Rodgers. I think that he might start to he wants to throw his weight around here. He's kind of upset with the Packers.
He is, because he wasn't told that the Packers would draft Jordan Love. And I think that what he wanted was another target to go with Devontae Adams and Aaron Jones, and Brian Gutekunst, the GM, did not listen to him.
Right.
So I think Brian Gutekunst is the one to blame for all this.
Yep.
But I also heard that him and Matt LaFleur say that they want Aaron Rodgers as their quarterback, and some of the players spoke out about this issue, and Jordan Love said that he and Aaron get along.
Right, yeah.
So maybe we could, but I think if Aaron Rodgers were to hold out, I think Jordan Love wouldn't be bad. I think he's kind of like a Mahomes-type quarterback.
Yep.
So anyways, let's talk about these 5 rookie quarterbacks. Do you think you see all five of them starting week 1 of the NFL season?
No. I think Fields is not. I think they've already said he's not going to start.
Well, you don't know that because you're going to have to see how Justin Fields is going to compete with Andy Dalton and Nick Foles for the quarterback competition. I don't think it's over until it's a foregone conclusion. They're just saying that. I just think that Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy are saying that is because they're going to want Justin Fields to earn the starting spot. But I kind of think that I do think in my mind that Justin Fields is going to wow Matt Nagy and say, hey, I want to start over Andy Dalton. And Andy Dalton's more of a backup at this point.
Yeah.
And do you think Mac Jones will start against the Dolphins week 1? I want to see Mac Jones versus Tua Tagovailoa week 1, not Cam Newton.
Yeah, I think I'll see Trevor Lawrence. I mean, he'll be starting. Who's the Jets quarterback?
Zach Wilson.
Zach Wilson, yeah. I think he'll be starting, I think, because they don't have another veteran quarterback, really. So I think he's just
not really, no.
The others, I don't think are.
You don't think Trey Lance will start over Jimmy G? I think so because Jimmy G's too injury prone, and I want to see Trey Lance rise right away.
But I think they'll wait for Jimmy G to get injured, and then Trey Lance will go in there. So
they shouldn't start Jimmy G anymore just because he keeps getting injured. When healthy, he's good. And then you think Mac Jones will start week 1 for the Patriots?
That's a tough call. I'm going to go with no for right now.
I mean, Mac Jones has been doing great in minicamp so far. I heard he's done well. I think Cam Newton has thrown a lot of interceptions.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Cam Newton has somewhat of an injured hand. So I think that at this point, Cam Newton, to me, I think is a backup quarterback.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I haven't followed the minicamp for the Patriots, so yeah.
And then for the Bears, I think Justin Fields is going to make I think Matt Nagy's going to name Justin Fields their week 1 starter against the LA Rams.
Okay.
So that's what I think. And who do you think? Which LA team this year? Which I forgot to add on here. Is going to be better? Is it going to be the Rams or is it going to be the Chargers? Both led by Sean McVay and Brandon Staley.
Yeah, and Matt Stafford and Justin Herbert. So, yeah, this is going to be a close one. I have to go with the Rams. I just think they have the more established coaching and just they're probably a more complete team. And with the upgraded quarterback, I'll go with the Rams. But the Chargers, I'm telling you, they're a dark horse this season. What might hold them back is this is Staley's first ever NFL head coaching job. So there might be a couple hiccups along the way. But, the team is good. They fixed that O-line, which was the biggest problem last year. They went from being the worst O-line to maybe having one of the best now. And Herbert had a phenomenal rookie season with a bad O-line. So imagine what's going to happen this year. So, the injury bug has always been plaguing the Chargers last few years too. So they got to stay healthy. And if they don't, you'll have to see how Staley navigates that.
And actually, to point out here is that with Staley's the head coach, he is a good defensive-minded coach. He was a quarterback in college that I think could really help the Chargers close out games better, which the Chargers had a lot of issues with blowing big leads.
That's true.
So I think they're going to be a lot better in that area this year because all of the Chargers' close losses were on Anthony Lynn, who is now your offensive coordinator for the Detroit Lions.
Yeah.
And I don't know how you feel about that. Do you think Anthony Lynn is going to be do you think he's going to help Jared Goff out in some way?
I think he will. The Lions, no one thinks they're going to be any good this year at all. I think they might be a little bit better than what people think. But, it's just complete turnover of the coaching staff and new quarterback. And so it's, we'll see how they gel.
Yeah, but also I want to point out here, do you think that Ryan Fitzpatrick has what it takes to be a starter for the Washington football team? And do you still favor the Cowboys to win that division still?
Yes, I do, because it's not going to be the Eagles, and the Washington football team doesn't have a quarterback, really. I mean, I don't know what's going on there. And then I don't think the Giants have done enough to overcome the Cowboys. So I'm going to go with the Cowboys.
So you think the Cowboys will win the division, and you think Washington will finish right behind them?
Yeah, it's either going to be them or the Giants. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be between one of those teams, but I also think here that I think that the NFC East might be better than it was last year.
Yeah.
So, anyways, from football field to the baseball diamond. So the Dodgers, however, they lost 2 out of 3. They won 2 out of 3 from the Phillies, swept the Diamondbacks, and then last night they got blown out by the Padres. What was your thoughts on the Dodgers lately? They've been playing a lot better. They've been playing good baseballs of late, but they're getting Max Muncy off the injured list again. Some reinforcements back, and then Cody Bellinger is having some bad luck this year with being on the injured list.
Yeah, I think the situation kind of reminds me a bit of, was it 3 years ago when the Rockies were playing really well and they were kind of leading the division for a little bit, but then the Rockies faded down the last couple of weeks and the Dodgers passed them, and that was that. I feel the Giants might be in that same category. Like, the Giants, I don't think are going to go away. I think they'll be there at the end, but I think they're going to fade. And I think you'll have Dodgers winning the division, and you might have both the Giants and Padres be the wild card, or be the play-in game. So that'd be fun.
Oh, that would be fun. And then last night, Julio Urias did not have such a good outing last night. So do you think that it's not fatigue? I just felt like that this was just a bad start that he had.
Yeah, I think it's just it happens over the course of the season for sure.
Yeah, I mean, he has turned out to be an all-star type pitcher for the Dodgers. Julio Urias could be either a starter or a guy that could close out games, because I always view David Price as a starting pitcher,
Yeah.
But the Dodgers wanted Price in the bullpen this year just because he just opted out for 1 year and needs to kind of get his innings back. So I think that was one of the reasons why. But I think tonight, do you think the Dodgers win tonight with Clayton Kershaw on the mound?
Yes.
And for the Padres tonight, they're going to go with Blake Snell.
Yeah, that'd be a good pitching matchup.
But Blake Snell has been struggling, and his ERA has been over 5. He's not gone past 6 innings. And the thing with Blake Snell is he's just walking a lot of batters, and that's kind of a concern for him.
Yeah, huge bust.
Do you think he's a bust for the Padres?
Yeah, so far, yeah, definitely.
It's only his first year, though, but maybe give it a year to kind of help him figure out things like that. But another NL West question is, are the Diamondbacks imploding? Because the thing is, they finally won a game yesterday, but they just keep on losing and losing and losing series.
Yeah. They're just a mess. That's for sure.
So that's a team that's going to be in last place pretty much the entire time for the rest of the season.
Yeah.
And then the Rockies are kind of okay, I guess. And then the Dodgers, however, they got a tough series coming up at home for their next homestand with the Cubs and the Giants. Do you think the Dodgers will split with the Cubs and then maybe sweep that 2-game series with the Giants?
Yeah, I think so.
And then what about the injury reaction to Alex Bregman's injury? He had a sore quad that kind of landed him on the injured list. How big of a loss is this to the Astros?
Pretty big, I think. Yeah, that's going to be a tough one. How long is he out for?
Maybe the full 10 days on the injured list. So I kind of saw the injury. It was not good. It wasn't that. It looked serious, but they just want to rest it just to avoid further injury,
Right, yeah.
So anyways, rest of the Padres and Dodgers series, you got Kershaw tomorrow, and then you got Trevor Bauer tomorrow against Joe Musgrove. So You think the Dodgers could have a chance to take 2 out of 3 from the Padres to kind of get revenge from them?
Yeah, I think so.
And then let's talk about your Detroit Tigers. They've dropped the last few games, and then they play St. Louis today. That's kind of a rematch of the 2006 World Series for the next 2 games before they host AJ's Houston Astros. So the Tigers actually swept the Royals. That was kind of surprising to me. And then you lost 3 out of 4 to the Angels.
Yeah, they're like it's a rebuilding year. They're I think they need to see what the young guys got, what the prospects got. They're working on some of the prospects in at this point, and so you got to be patient with them though.
One guy that's been great, Des Cameron, the 24-year-old center fielder, I think is going to be a star. You got him. Akel Badu, I think, has been in the running for the American League Rookie of the Year award, and then I think Casey Mize is just getting started.
Yeah, I think so. I think they have a lot of potential.
I mean, yes, they still do. And then the Tigers coming up, they got Houston for 4, and then they got the Indians to end the month of June. So basically, this month of June of the Tigers has been kind of up and down after playing so badly in the beginning of April and then early May and all that. But AJ Hinch has a plan. That's all I care. That's all that matters, because I think AJ Hinch, you said he has the 5-year plan ahead of him, but I just don't think that this team is just not ready yet.
Yeah.
Don't you think so with this year's Detroit Tigers?
Yes. Yep.
So anyways, let's talk about some college basketball right now. So Coach K is retiring at the end of the season, and John Shire, his former player at Duke, is going to be the next head coach. What's your thoughts on Coach K retiring and that John Shire is now going to be the new head coach of Duke beginning next season?
Yeah, I think no one has had an impact on a sport quite like Coach K has had on college basketball. He's been Duke basketball pretty much. Shire, it's tough because it's tough to follow in Coach K's footsteps. So you probably got to go with a guy who's really familiar with Duke, that Coach K kind of hand points as a successor to take some pressure off. But yeah, that's it'll be different not seeing Coach K on the sidelines.
It is. I mean, he has this chill personality on the sideline, but he doesn't really yell a lot. But he has made so many college players at Duke into NBA stars, like Brandon Ingram, Zion Williamson. Whoever played for him at Duke learned from him at Duke. Like J.J. Redick played for him at Duke.
Grant Hill
played for Coach K at Duke.
Yep.
So those are the guys that really made an impact on Coach K's coaching career at Duke.
Absolutely.
So,
yep.
But I really am going to miss him on the sidelines next year, because this past year, after North Carolina got booted out of the first round of the NCAA tournament, it was an end of an era for Roy Williams. And I think Roy Williams is a fantastic coach, and I don't think there will be another Roy Williams at North Carolina or Dean Smith.
Yeah, another legend retires.
So basically, we could be nearing an end of an era of these great college basketball coaches. But John Calipari is still there. He's not retiring anytime yet. Or your boy from Michigan State, Tom Izzo.
Yeah, they're still there. I've heard some rumors that Izzo might look to jump ship, but I think he's already old enough that I don't think it makes much sense at this point.
And then, from college basketball to college football, do you think that you should see a 12-team college football playoff bracket or format?
Yep, I think so. I've always advocated for it. You need to get more schools involved. College football has devolved into just the same 4 schools competing every year: Ohio State, Alabama, Clemson, and then LSU or Florida or Georgia, or maybe Auburn from the SEC. And you just need you need to get more fan bases interested and engaged with the sport. And this is how you do it. I think a 12-team playoff is going to be good for everyone.
I think a 12-team playoff is going to be good for everyone. I want to see Michigan Wolverines football in the college football playoff. I want to see Jim Harbaugh outcoach some coaches in there, but I think that he is still a good coach for them. But also, I forgot to mention here is before we get to the ice is that do you think that we could see Penny Hardaway coach the Orlando Magic, come out of the Memphis Tigers to coach the Orlando Magic, because he was a former player for the Orlando Magic? That would be something.
Yeah, it'd be interesting.
I just wanted to ask that because since we're in college basketball, Penny Hardaway was rumored to coach the Orlando Magic because he's at Memphis right now. And I think that him returning to the NBA, coaching the Orlando Magic, would help the Magic return to the team. Remember when Mark Jackson coached a Warriors team that was dysfunctional?
Yeah.
I think Penny Hardaway could take out the dysfunctional word out of Orlando.
Yeah.
And make Orlando a market again, Yep.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to get that out there. So now to the NHL, the playoffs have been good. And also, the Colorado Avalanche have been knocked out. So we're going to not see the Avalanche in the Stanley Cup final. So do you think that the Montreal Canadiens are going to beat the Vegas Golden Knights to go to the Cup final?
Yeah, it's been a good series. Montreal's been definitely the story out of all these teams. I think they play tonight, right? Vegas and Montreal.
Yeah, I've heard some games on it, but Montreal is definite. But actually, the story of this NHL playoffs in the semifinal round is what you would call this? The New York Islanders.
Yeah.
Barry Trotz.
Yeah, I like Barry Trotz.
So the series is tied at 2. Game 5 is tonight in Las Vegas. And if one of these teams take a 3-2 series lead, then Game 6 is going to be back in Montreal.
Yeah, I like Vegas to win tonight and take a 3-2 lead. And I like the Lightning to finish off the Islanders. I think it's tomorrow night.
Yes.
They pounded the Islanders 8-0 yesterday. That's tough for a team to come back from.
And then
you get embarrassed out there.
This is the last year that NBC is going to have the rights to the NHL national rights. What's your thoughts on ESPN and Turner now having the rights to the NHL national TV rights?
In a way, I think it's good for the NHL. I think the value of their product jumped up, and that's why they're going back to ESPN. So, yeah, I think I like ESPN. In the past, they did a good job with hockey. NBC's done a pretty good job too, but I think it's probably a good move for the NHL.
Well, and then Kenny Albert, who's Marv's son, he's actually going to be the lead announcer for Turner, for the NHL on Turner Sports.
Wow, that'll be pretty cool.
So basically, speaking of the Alberts, this is actually starting Wednesday, will be Marv Albert's final NBA playoff series beginning on Wednesday. So that's kind of like our final we'll get that as our final thought here. So also want to ask you this. Do you think the LA Kings should trade for Jack Eichel, the Sabres captain?
It'd be interesting. He wants out of Buffalo, I think.
The Kings are going to want to be aggressive this offseason. Yeah.
Do you think they'll trade for him?
They're going to need another star to go with. To go with Kopi and Brown and all that, and to help this young core. So the Kings definitely need to be somewhat aggressive this offseason to get this rebuild over.
Yeah.
Because these first 2 seasons have been good, but they have the talent to be a good rebuilding team, but they're just not there are times that they've been erratic and they haven't been able to close out games properly.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like the thing here for the Kings. They kind of need to get a big name free agent this offseason and also get a good draft pick too.
Right.
So also, but to the MLS segment, which is the final one of our segment of the day. So the LA Galaxy beat Seattle Sounders and LAFC. How they have been doing lately?
Yeah, I haven't been watching MLS as much just because I've been on vacation. So what do you think?
I saw the LA Galaxy. They've been the story this year. Chicharito has been really good.
Yeah, I know he's been playing really well. I'm glad to see him doing well.
Also, for our final thoughts is that Marv Albert, this is going to be his last NBA series beginning on Wednesday. He gets to call the Bucks and the Hawks to end his NBA career, and whenever that series ends, he is going to retire. So, do you think that TNT is going to miss Marv Albert on its NBA broadcasts?
Yeah, I think so. I wish him a lot of luck and a happy retirement.
It is. I mean, I'm going to miss Marv Albert. I mean, being in the business for so many decades for Marv Albert, I think this was time for him to retire, but I know his son Kenny is still going to be working.
Right.
Because Kenny is going to be the lead announcer for the NHL on TNT. He's still going to have his NFL on Fox duties, New York Knicks duties, and New York Rangers duties. And baseball. I don't want to forget about baseball because Kenny Albert does baseball for Fox too.
All right, yeah.
So that's what I meant to say. And also for our final thought, do you have a prediction? Who do you think will replace Marv Albert as the lead announcer for the NBA on TNT broadcast on Thursdays, and we'll do the conference finals?
No, I don't know. Who do you think?
I want Kevin Harlan.
Uh-huh.
Because Kevin Harlan would be great as the lead announcer for the NBA on TNT, but he can also still keep his NFL commitments too. Like, he'll still do Monday Night Football for Westwood One, NFL on CBS, and then do TNT Thursdays.
Yeah.
So I think Kevin Harlan would be the. I predict it should be Kevin Harlan as the lead announcer for TNT now. Now that Marv Albert's going to retire, they should just give it to Kevin Harlan.
Yeah.
And with that being said, Matt, have a great rest of your day. We'll actually set a day next week to talk more sports.
All right. See you then.
That's going to do it for everyone.